Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, happy Juneteenth to all my kings and queens of color out there celebrating wherever it is you celebrating from. Save some spare ribs, some chicken wings for me. I need no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be probably the most time-honored vibe session that I have been looking forward to because I have been trying to get this lady on here for a long time. I'm going to be incredibly biased when I say the things I'm about to say because me and this wonderful sister have an incredible professional history that has always been positive. She has always looked out for me in so many ways when a lot of other promoters wouldn't. But I had to think about how I was going to introduce her, and I was like, you know what? I know the perfect way to do this. So welcome to the Rap Sheet Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time here, we have a few ideals that we want to come across on this here show. The first ideal is be unapologetic, because this is a platform where you can speak how you want to speak, feel how you want to feel, and if you don't like it, you can turn us off on YouTube and we're still going to keep going. So be unapologetic. The second ideal is be yourself. Why? Because we want to have influential creators of color who have made impactful contributions to our culture to be able to speak openly and be influential at the same time, because it is their influence that has got them here, because I appreciate what one does, or he, she, or they do, which is why you are here. That is ideal number 2. Ideal number 3, if you are commenting on our YouTube page, be respectful with the comments. If you're not, I will block your ass and you will no longer be here. So that is ideal number 3. Ideal number 4, be open, be yourself, be expressive, but be what brought you to the dance. And finally, and this is the most important ideal of all, and I got to make sure that I have this because this is very, 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 very important to me, and I don't have it, so I'm just going to do it without it. Be expressive. Let me say it again for everybody in the background. Be expressive. With all that being said, and this is going to be the funniest thing, ladies and gentlemen, we have a newbie. Yes, we have a newbie to the platform. Ladies and gentlemen. All right, now that I got all that out, all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very time-honored and respected lady in the city of Boston and all over wherever she goes. As you can hear her son in the background saying, "Yup, that's my mama."
Yeah.
I can't express enough how powerful her platform has become, which started from 10 people to now. If you don't get there by a certain time, you just don't
no
at all. And the best thing about this is she has turned this platform into a safe space for everyone. You could be white, Jewish, Black, Honduran, you could be from Barbados, Jamaican, Haitian, doesn't matter. If you have something to say, her mic is open to you.
Yes.
But let me disclaim that the reason why she does this mic first and foremost, and I'm going to have her better explain this, is she is for the gay and lesbian community first. That doesn't mean that other people can't be a part of the foundation and the family, but that comes first. So with all that being said, I've got too many things on here, and no, I'm not getting it. No. But I also wanted to make sure that we did this right. So
yes, I love it. You better rep. I love it.
I need a new shirt, by the way, because this is the only one I have, and it is hella old. But
same. That's like the only reason I don't have mine on.
Like my man D Ruff says, and I'm gonna have my sister finish this for me. If you feel it,
you can speak it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the founder and the architect of the If You Can Feel It, You Can Speak It open mic, the mother of all microphones. Jah D is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
She went through that and didn't cry. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know Jah D, she is a crier. A lot. And so I was hoping that she wasn't going to,
No.
and she held it together.
I held it together. I'm keeping it snatched. I'm keeping it snatched.
My sister, how are you?
I'm great. I'm beautifully blessed and happy and healthy. I'm exhausted for so many reasons, but I've had a beautiful Juneteenth, so I'm feeling good, and I'm here with you, so I'm even better.
Amen. You're making my Juneteenth end on a more powerful note. But for those that are not familiar with you, and I don't know who that could possibly be, let's take it back to the very, very beginning. How did the If You Can Feel It, You Can Speak It open mic start? Give us the beginning there.
Such a good question. Such a good question. First of all, thank you for introducing in that way. That's so dope. And I'll tell people about why you did that momentarily. But it's just a blessing to have folks who recognize how we do things and who recognize our vibe. And so to have that be brought into this space is really dope and appreciative. The mic started, honestly, by way of us being part of a whole different event. So for those that are from the Boston area and are familiar with the history of Boston and the Boston nightlife, we used to be part of an event called Lesbians in Power. And so it was a group led by Jamila Gales, who was basically hosting events all throughout the city of Boston for the queer communities of color, definitely focusing on lesbians of color. And she had some fire club nights. And she invited me to host an open mic at the beginning of those club nights because she wanted to be able to offer folks, a little something different, have folks that wanted to come out for a chiller vibe, come out around 9. And those that wanted to stay for the party could stay after 11. But from like 9 to 11, we was kicking it on the mic. And that's where we got our start at first. And then, one night about a year and a half, 2 years into that, Jam was like, you got this. Go ahead. Like, it's you. Take it. It's your night. Do what you will with it. Like, I love you. I trust you. I love what you're doing. And like, go forth. And so that's what we've been doing for the past 15 years is just going forth. So that's how we got started.
When she handed over the reins to you, were you expecting that? Was this like a conversation you guys had in away from the public? Listen, or was it she just threw it to you and said, all right, here's the alley-oop. It's on you.
No, it was like a straight, fast, curve, unexpected ball. Okay. I was not at all prepared. A few nights I was there hosting the mic, and then we were accustomed to, 10:30, we start wrapping up. 10:45, we definitely have to have the last person. 10:59, like we needed to be off the mic, party done. DJ Ron Steele takes over, starts with the proper party. You know what I'm saying? Like that was our cutoff, and we knew that. And like one night, we're hitting 10:30. Jam ain't showed up yet. 10:45, Jam still not there. 11 o'clock, Jam still not there. 11:15, Jam still not there. So like Ron's looking at me, I'm looking at Ron, and I was like, well, yo, fam, 11 o'clock, you got to start the music, figure it out. And so I just stayed like I normally did for the club nights. Night went great. Folks still showed up. Some of the folks from Jam's team still showed up. They left a little early. So I stayed until the close, till the da-da-da, and the bar handed me the money. So I took the money, wrote the amount on the envelope, sealed it, taped it, sent a picture to Jam, did all the things. And she said, okay, cool. Thank you. See you next month. And I was like, all right, mama, see you next month. Pray everything's cool. Right. Next month, same shit happened. She, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, no Jam. And I was like, all right, I'll do the same thing. Sealed the envelope, wrote it down, sent her a picture, held the envelope, I had a little safe at my apartment, put the envelopes in the safe. Third time, she does it again. And so I called her and I was like, Jam, are you okay? What's going on? Your team's not even showing up. Is everything okay? Da, 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 da. And she texts me back. She's like, that's you. You got this. Go ahead.
Wow.
What? What you mean? Go ahead with what? What do you do? What do you want me to? But what though? And she was like, no, you, and what it was is she was showing me how much she trusted me by not even showing up for the night, seeing how I handled the crowd and et cetera. And what was also happening is, by that third time, I was like, okay, well, how are people feeling? Do y'all want us to go a little bit longer with the mic? And folks was like, yeah, keep the open mic open, keep it going, and da-da-da, because she knew what I didn't know, which was that there was a transition kind of happening within the community, within that group of people, and they were looking for the open mic vibe. They wanted to party eventually, but like for that Thursday night, they were really interested in what the mic had to offer. And so we just extended the mic until 11:30, and then we would party from 11:30 till 1. And those 3 envelopes that I saved, they were mine. She was like, keep those. That's you. I was so mad at Jam. I was so mad at her for years. I was like, I can't believe you did that to me.
In hindsight, looking back on it now, are you glad that she did that? I mean, I know you were initially like not too thrilled with the way that it happened, but looking back on it now, so many years later, are you thankful for this moment and what she did? And if so, what ways are you thankful for it? And we're going to get into how you met D-Rup and everything else. So answer that question first.
Of course, I'm grateful. And I mean, I appreciate the way that she did it, because had she asked me outright, I would have said no. And that's also how we started the mic, to be honest. So like, I said we started as a club night, but what I didn't say is the night the mic first happened, it was, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Wow. And Jam was hosting a club night at what used to be called Norvia's, which is now Fort Hill Bar and Grill. And so she's hosting this event at Norvia's. I lived right up the street, and she was like, yo, you should come out. She was like, are you coming out tonight? And I was like, yeah, no, of course I'll be there. Tomorrow's a holiday, like no problem. I'll be there. I was in college. So I was like, yeah, I'll be there, no doubt. And she's like, do you mind coming out a little bit earlier? And I was like, yeah, bet. No problem. What do you need help with? Whatever it is, I got you. She's like, yeah, just come a little bit earlier. And so she's like, get here by 9. Cool, not a problem. So I walked in the door, Daz, and as I'm walking in the door, Jam says, all right, and here's our open mic host. And so I turned around to see who walked in behind me. There was nobody behind me. And I was like, I know what? You did it. Just because like Jam had seen me perform poetry a few times, you know what I'm saying? And she like really rocked with me and how I showed up in the club and all my politics and what have you. And so she was like, yeah, here's the host of the open mic. And again, had she asked me to host the open mic, I would have said no. Like, I don't know how to do that. That's not my skill, da-da-da. But Jam, again, saw in me things that I didn't see yet. And so fast forward to her giving me the night, I would have said no. Like, I don't know how to promote a night. I don't know how to maintain a night. I don't know how to, like, gather a crowd. Like, this is not what I do. And so I'm grateful that she trusted me, but that also she saw in me the things that I did not see yet. That is just really dope to have somebody in your corner like that.
That is definitely dope. Salute. You know what? I should have started off by asking you, how did you even get involved in poetry, and who were some of your early influences?
So, first of all, before I answer that question, it's Juneteenth. So we have some chicken frying up in here in a cast iron. And my wife just put a plate of fried chicken in front of me. Some of the real food to eat while I'm with you.
It is okay.
I'm a breastfeeding person and I'm a Black person on Juneteenth with fried chicken in front of me. It's not resistible.
Salute to Kels. What's going on, sis?
Yeah, she's here.
What up, though?
Hey, what's going on, sister? Good to see you again. Congratulations on everything. Congratulations, my sister. I love you. Most definitely.
Yes.
Good to see you.
All right.
Yeah, so I got into poetry very early on, actually in high school, mostly because I was writing to express myself. I was going through a lot as a high school student. I'm an only child of a single parent. My mother was a Boston police officer for 18 years, very disciplinary, very strict woman, very loving woman. I'm definitely going to say that. Like, my mother to this day is my best friend. Absolutely. But, she had some ways about her, some rules and some guidelines and et cetera. And so being a teenager, going through high school, navigating this whole coming out process, I just had a lot of feelings that I needed somewhere to put them when I didn't feel like I could necessarily express them out loud. And so I became known as the person who was always writing on the school bus, to the point to where folks would be like, yo, what you writing? Like, why are you always writing? What you got in there? And I'm very open, very sharing. And so I would share what I was writing, and folks was like, yo, this is fire. This is good. Or like, this makes sense to me. I'm going through something similar. I never thought of putting it that way. To people being like, oh, can you write a poem for me? If this is how I'm feeling, can you help me put this to words? And so I was more than happy to do that. And so fast forward, when I get to college, I was like, how, I want to keep writing. It has been a tool for me. It has been a resource. And a friend of mine actually put me on to an open mic. I had no idea what an open mic concept was until my freshman year of college. And I went to Northeastern. So a friend of mine invited me to an open mic on my own campus. And I was like, how did I not know this was a thing? And I'm sitting in the room and I'm just listening to people share their writing. And I was like, you can do this? Like, hold on. Like, hell yeah, I'm getting up there. Like, put my name down on the list. Because I wanted to share what I was writing, because I'd been so accustomed to doing it in high school that I was more than happy to share it at that level. And so from that first mic, I was addicted. Like, I was tied into it. I was deep into it. And then around that time, and even a little bit earlier, while I was still in high school, Def Poetry Jam had come out.
Ooh.
And like, yes, that was everybody. You got the Stacey Ann Chins, the Black Ice, Common, Most Def, like
Saul Williams.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that whole, anybody that ever touched that stage was an influence. Like, all of them, every single one of them was an influence, because it was just so rhythmic. It was so culturally infused. It was so real. It was so raw. And it was a perfect example of what poetry should and could do for me, for people of color, for communities of color. And it was a way that, like, of course, in high school, they're teaching you prose and sonnets, and which are all dope and beautiful, right? And they're teaching you old school poetry and white authors and so forth. But to see Def Poetry Jam with that soul in it, and that still be called poetry, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in here. Like, yeah, I'm a poet. Like, I got this.
Amen,
so yeah, that's how I got into it.
That's dope. Let me also add, and this is just something I've always wanted to share, is your level of respect for other platforms in the city of Boston that you have showed love to on so many occasions. Shout out to my girl Yuri, who had Blackout Boston.
Yes.
Although we are not cool anymore, Vernon has verbalization, and there's just so many other platforms that are out there. Initially, when you took over, what was the initial response like with Jamila stepping out and you stepping in the city of Boston during your early goings?
Daz, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I don't know, because I wasn't checking for the response. Like, I was checking for what I was told to do, what I was asked to do, what I was invited to do, and that was to run an open mic. So that's what I did. Like, I didn't have time or energy to think about, responses and how things were going. But I will say that, the crowd, the group, the audience that Jam had built through Lesbians in Power, they stayed. Like, they just kept coming. They kept coming in droves. They loved the open mic. They loved the vibe. And it benefited me that, like, we were able to stay in the same venue. It helped that we were able to keep DJ Ron Steele. Like, DJ Ron Steele rocked with me, rides with me still to this day. He's coming in July for the July 5-side mic. Like, he has been my ride or die since Jam was like, all right, you got this. And so there was a lot of staying power and a lot of loyalty and a lot of built-in infrastructure around me that made it possible for us to just continue in stride. And so there wasn't any pushback. There wasn't any, if there was, I didn't hear it. Like, there wasn't any like, oh, who is she? Why is she doing this? And like I said before, we really leaned into the open mic portion of the night and less so into the club night. And I think at that time, people wanted that. Like, that group of people who were clubbing, we were all growing up together. We were all like, transitioning into the next phase. And like, we were tired of clubbing all goddamn night long. And we had Friday and Saturday for that. We needed Thursday as the ramp up into it. And so it was all love. It was all positive. And still to this day, like, there's so many folks from that community, from that group, from that audience that still rock with me, that still show up to events like on some like, yo, I've known you since you were Time. I've known you since you were rocking with Jam. I've known you since yada, yada, yada. And it's all love. It's all love.
Right. One of the biggest things I like is the term, I don't even want to say term, but the word family means so much to so many people. And I date back to the first time I heard the Jungle Brothers do a record, and then they started linking with De La Soul, and then Tribe Called Quest, and then Queen Latifah, and then ultimately became Native Tongues. You started hanging out with certain members that just stood out as more than just a poet and as a presence and as energy, but you saw something in them to where Free became somebody special. D Ruff became someone special. David Weiland became someone, DJ, Star, Katori, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, you became Team Bespoken. How did this crew of wonderful griots and misfits on the mic become a family? How did TBS start up?
Yeah, so TBS is just a blessing in and of itself, right? So in the early days of the mic, like I said, when we're attached to the club night, some of the TBS members were people who were just clubbing, right? Like they were people who had been going to the nightclubs, and then they heard about the mic, and they were poets. And so they were like, yeah, of course, I'm going to come check this out. And so, they had an idea of what the mic was. And some of those folks are like Sublime Love, Ro, Poetic Devotion, TJ. TJ's a good friend of Jams, so like those kind of folks had already been associated with Lesbians in Power, heard about the mic, and wanted to come check it out. However, the whole like Team Bespoken aspect of it was in the early days, because I heard you say this, before, like when it was first like just 10 people and now you got to get there at a certain time. That 10 people reference is real. Like you're not joking. You know exactly what you're talking about, which is to say that there was a moment where the open mic portion of the club night only had about like 7 to 10 people in attendance for that first 2-3 hours. And those folks, those early folks, a lot of them are TBS members, because these are the people who would come to the mic consistently, poems ready, like multiple poems ready. And we would just do round robins. Like we would just be out there testing new material, trying new things, like just engaging with one another, because there was not anybody else in the space to help the mic thrive. And it was that staying power. It was that consistency that I was like, yo, y'all are really rocking with me. And so when we moved from Slanche, well, first we started at Norvia's, then we moved to Slanche, then we moved to the Milky Way. And by the time we moved to the Milky Way, we had more of a following, but I had to show love and I had to show respect to the folks who had been there since like day one, the folks who had poems just on the ready. And so those folks are, Star, those folks are Sublime Love, Poetic Devotion, Katori, or Pamela, whichever name you know her by, some of those folks. And then also you have to consider, so like, Free and I go way back. Free and I are like best friends, been known Free for the greater part of my life, met Free in undergrad. And at that early stage, in those early days, Free wasn't really sharing poetry. So like Free was one of the last folks to be added to TBS, but definitely one of the most important folks to be added, because Free had been rocking by my side, whether they were in a poet stance or not, for a grip. So like when I started the mic, Free was there. And every time we moved the mic, Free was there. Whereas D came in super early. We met at, what was the name of the club across from the Children's Museum? Blue Wave is where D and I met. And I was up on the mic, he was up on the mic. And after he performed, I pulled him aside, and he tells this story way better than I do, but I pulled him aside and I was like, hey, I need you to name your number and your email. And he's like, yeah, of course. He thinking I'm hitting on him. And I'm like, nah, fam, you have no idea. So like he gave me all his info. And I'm hosting this open mic. I like your energy. I rock with you. I need a co-host. You seem like you got a good vibe. Folks in here was loving on what you got to offer. You need to come to this event. And so he started coming to Slanche, and he was also hella consistent. And when I had to go for grad school, I was like, yo, fam, I need somebody to like hold me down. I need somebody to help keep this mic consistent. I need an anchor. Like, are you in? He's like, I got you. And so there were just these moments in time where people from TBS just showed up hot and heavy, ready to be part of the family, ready to help the mic grow and thrive. And as a result, we became a family of poets who have been rocking with Phi Psi for a grip. And so Katori has moved. Wylan is in Vegas. Sublime Love, stepped down from Phi Psi and has also moved. But, we all still keep in touch in terms of like TJ, Star, Poetic Devotion, Free, of course, D Ruff. So like Free, D Ruff and I are like really running things right now. But we love the rest of our TBS fam always and forever. And then don't forget, We also got Trench in there as like our resident TBS photographer. You know, like it's not just poets who make up TBS. It's photographers, it's our DJs like yourself, DJ Ron Steele, DJ Lady Lee. Like there's a lot of folks that are like honorary TBS members who, if we call, we know y'all are coming. And that's a dope feeling for sure.
About to have my first Jadi cry moment. Did y'all hear that? She said honorary TBS member. I want that on my tombstone.
I love it.
TBS member. Beautiful. If you're just now tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, we have the architect in the flesh, Jadi, my sister from another mother, one of the bangingest sisters in all of the USA that I'm so glad I meet. And if you have not checked out this open mic, let me tell you what you're going to experience. And this is coming from someone that hated poetry with a serious passion because, and here's why. It's not because I didn't respect the art form. I just didn't understand it. Because I grew up as an MC in New York City. And that's all that I knew. But the people that I was listening to, Public Enemy, Slick Rick, Tribe Called, like I was listening to people who had something to say, and I didn't see it as poetry. I was like, it's just beats and rhymes. Okay, cool, we're done. But as I got older, my intellectual capacity to really separate just everyday rap music from music with a message that the news stations won't tell you about our people really began to avail itself to me, so that when I was in a capacity to be around poets of this magnitude, it was easier to understand and comprehend because of what I grew up listening to. So I already had that consciousness to know that if I can listen to Chuck D in rhyme form say the same thing that a Jod D or a D Ruff or somebody is saying in poetry form, it's all the same message, just done in a different capacity. And so I'm thankful for y'all for opening my eyes to something that I didn't know was out there, but I'm glad that I went, and man, what a blessing this has been. But now I gotta get open because there was a time when I went to another poetry event, not going to name the name of this event, but the host of this event was literally bashing the shit out of UND, and it pissed me off. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I'm going to tell you now. I'm not going to mention who it is because it's someone that is very well known, but he decided to take it upon himself to bash your platform because you all were just for the gay and lesbian community. And it really, really bothered me. First of all, I love my wife. I am a heterosexual to the fullest. That's neither here nor there. But I have gay friends. I have transsexual friends. I have metrosexual friends that respect me enough and my choice to be with who I want to be. And to hear this man do it in such a fashion made me stand up. I wish I had a milk crate and like a foghorn, but I just said, I'm like, who the fuck are you to sit there and bash people who are doing the same genre you're doing in this fashion? You don't think you're being a hypocrite right now? And he was like, you can just leave. I'm like, you know what? I will. And I remember turning around, and there was an audience of like 60 people there. And I was like, ladies and gentlemen, if you are tired of people like this host right here, come to the Milky Way every third Thursday. If you can feel it, you can speak it. Open mic where poetry is the centerpiece, but everyone is invited. You won't be turned away because you're this or that. There's no discrimination. Matter of fact, if you do discriminate, she'll just get you out of here because she got goons. She got goons. And 30 people followed me out of the building and was like, okay, so we need to know where this open mic is because we're not going to support someone who's saying this stuff about another person of color trying to do the same exact thing that you're doing. And they followed me, and I don't know how long they've been coming there, but hopefully they still come. And I wanted to just share that story with you. I've been waiting for years to always share this story, but I wanted to share that with you. So we don't need to mention who that person is, but
no, that's irrelevant, you know, and so are they. So that's fine. But I think the fact that you were willing to stand up and say something means a lot because not a lot of folks would do that. And we are unapologetically always going to prioritize and center the experiences and the voices of the LGBTQ plus communities of color. And we're going to do that for several reasons. One, because that's where I lie. That's my identity. That's where my intersections are. As a Black queer woman living in a city like Boston, I know that there are very few places where I can go and all of me will be accepted, embraced, loved, grown, nurtured, and all of that. And so I have to imagine that the same is true for the rest of my brothers and sisters in the lesbian, gay, transgender, so forth and so on communities. And so it was very important for us when we started the mic that we maintain that. Also, like I said, we were born out of a lesbian nightclub, like a lesbian nightlife night, you know? So like, why would we not maintain that same energy? I think the other thing is in and around Boston, in and around most cities, you can find, you know, a number of open mics that are going to cater to the heteronormative cisgender communities. You can find those everywhere, especially in a place like Boston and Cambridge. There were dozens of open mics where literally anybody could go, spit their poem, receive love, get the snaps, get the whatevers, but let one of us walk in there either as a Black identified person, let alone as a Black queer identified person, and try to spit anything. It was crickets. And so I was like, well, we're going to fix that. Like, we're going to make our own space. We're going to have somewhere where we can be safe, first and foremost, because people have no idea the type of harm that they're actually doing to our livelihood when they say stupid shit like what old boy said from the mic. So we're going to be a safe space. Of course, we had to transition that to a working space after we realized that we can't actually control safety given the crazy world that's out here, but we can control how hard we work at rebalancing, you know, the scales of our space. And then on top of that, like, we're going to be an affirming space. We're going to be an open space. We're going to be a space where love is given and love is received, and it is always in abundance, because that doesn't hurt anybody. It only helps. And so when, you know, when people have opinions about our mic, when people have opinions about me personally, when people have opinions about my team, I'm all right with that. Like, because you can't stop us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't stop this flow. You can't stop this love. You can't stop this abundance. So like, there's been a number of folks who have had opinions about us, and here we are 15 years strong. So cool.
15 years strong. Wow.
Yeah. Our 15th will be in November.
Wow. I'm definitely going to try. Okay. Hold on a second. Hold on. Wife. In November, we got to go back to Boston to celebrate my friend's 16th anniversary of her event. And I know you like poetry. We gotta go. We gotta go to this. And I'm gonna try to convince her to DJ a set too. But we gotta go. We definitely gotta go. Man, listen. Okay? Yay! She said, all right, sounds good. There you go. My wife's on board.
Love it.
So your transition from the Milky Way to doing other events that would bring in new audiences and special dope poets. Like, I remember the night Black Ice came. I hope I remember. Man, oh man. So your transition from doing this open mic and how comfortable you were there, the challenge of doing events away from the Milky Way on a bigger scale. And we're not just talking poets, MCs, live bands, dancers, like vendors, all. How did you get the I wouldn't say how did you get the confidence, because you've always had the confidence, but to tackle new arenas like doing events at Uberon and wherever and all the other things that you've done, what was that challenge like? And describe the first event that you did and how the joy was to see the people respond to you saying, well, if Jadi's attached to it, I'm coming. And they really did come. Explain those moments on doing more bigger creative events away from your every month platform.
Yeah. So, you know, so what you're talking about, well, the Black Ice show was called Inspirations, and that was the way we celebrated our 4-year anniversary. And so that's when we brought in Love the Poet, Stacey and Chin, and Black Ice to help Phi-Psi celebrate 4 years.
Right.
But the other events that you're talking about when you're talking about dancers and MCs and visual artists and et cetera is energy. And that's the show that I
Yes.
produced for 10 years at the Oberon. And honestly, I wouldn't even call it confidence so much as I would just call it like determination, wherewithal, gall. I don't know what you would call it, but I don't know that I would necessarily call it confidence, because I've never sat in a room or in a space and been like, oh, I can definitely do this. Like, hands down, I got the talent and the skill and the resources to do this. That has never been my mindset. My mindset has always been, oh, it would be nice if this thing existed. I would love to see a space like this. I would love to see an event like this. And if I would feel that way, then I have to imagine that others would. So what can I do to help cultivate this thing that I'm looking for? And so basically what happened is I was sitting at a show at the Oberon, and I was like, yo, this space is dope. This space is amazing. Like, this is a huge space. They got this beautiful stage, full bar. I was like, yo, my community deserves to be up in here. Like, we should be here. Like, this sounds like a great idea. And no shade to the audience in that particular show, but it was not a bunch of us. And I was like, we need to know about this, because this was the first time I was hearing about the space. But also in that moment, I later then was invited to participate in that same show. It was a reoccurring variety show. And this had been the case for me consistently. But this particular night, you know, I was invited to be part of the show, and I'm in the green room, and I'm the only Boston-based artist in the show. And that had happened to me across anytime I had performed poetry anywhere throughout the city as part of like a larger lineup. I was always the only Boston-based poet. There were like folks from Baltimore and from New York and from Atlanta and Oakland, which is fire. So dope. Of course, like, let's diversify, let's reach out or what have you. But I was also like, yo, why doesn't Boston put Boston on? Like, why are we not celebrating our homegrown talent? And we can have that conversation another time as we talk about crabs in a barrel and all of the bullshit. But you know, I was like, why not put on a show that's Boston based? And so Energy, the purpose of Energy was twofold. One, it was to center Boston based artists. So for all 10 years that I produced that show, each show had 10 to 12 artists in it, and all 10 to 12 artists were from Boston, the greater Boston area. That was a requirement. The second purpose of that show was to introduce multi-genre artists to each other, because that was the other thing that I noticed. If you were a poet, you knew the poets in the city. If you were a dancer, you knew the dancers in the city. If you were a visual artist, you knew the visual artists. But like, knowing those across each other, like the cross-pollination, wasn't always necessarily a thing. And so one of the beautiful results of the show, it wasn't a requirement, but it was kind of a result, was that I would say 90% of the artists that I cast over those 10 years had never met each other.
Wow.
So we'd be at the casting of Energy, producing the show, and everybody's like, I've never seen this dance group before. I've never heard this vocalist before. I've never seen this visual artist before. And so then they would meet, they would connect, and then you would start seeing flyers and bills with this dancer and that visual artist and this poet, because they stayed connected and started inviting each other to each other's shows. And so that was really why I was doing Energy. It had nothing to do with like confidence and, oh, this is what I want to do. It was more so, I would love to see a show that like big ups Boston artists and that better connects our artist community. And I feel like I have the resources to do so. And big shout out to the Oberon, because their structure was such that I didn't have to put up the upfront capital. All I had to do was tell them what I wanted to do. They told me what the contract amount was. And as long as I made that in bar sales, we was good to go. If I didn't make it in bar sales, then they took it from the ticket sales. If I didn't make it in the ticket sales, then I had to cut them a check. In the 10 years, I never had to cut them a check. So we was good. Like, we was good. And so it was beautiful. It was beautiful. So that's how I did those things. It was not about like, I think I can do this. It was more so like, I feel like I should do this. And who do I know that can help me do this? And like, let's just get everybody in the room. And I operate out of abundance. And I think that really is what just like fuels all that I'm able to do. I don't have a scarcity mindset. I don't have it's just me mindset. I'm like, yo, anybody that wants to help, anybody that got what they need, what I need, what it needs, like, come to the table. We can keep adding chairs to the table. Like, let's get it. So it works out.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the mother of the mic, and the mother in real life, John D. And I feel like I've known her for so long. This woman used to be my bartender. That's how we first met.
That's so
Back
real.
in the Milky Way, or what was known as the Bella Luna,
Yeah.
right there in the right near Jackson Square. That's how we first met.
Yep.
And it's just like something about her just really made a cool friend, and it was always a level of respect involved. Is one thing, if anyone knows about me, once you tell me what you're about, I totally respect it and never ever cross that boundary. And I've never done that with her. Straight, I couldn't, because a friend like this you don't want to lose. Not because she can provide her platform and get you paid, but it was just the way that she carried herself. She was a respect to others, so you had to give her that respect. And also, if you cross that line with her, she can express it, but not in the way that you would think, because she's very calm with her approach. But the facial expressions do change, and when that does, I quote Men's Society, you know you done fucked up. You know you don't.
I mean, I'm my mama's child.
Huh?
I said I'm my
What'd you
mother's
say?
child. I said I'm my mother's child. So there's that.
And she was a police officer, so you don't want that smoke, son. You don't. Plus, like I said, she got goons, and no matter where we are in the world, all we gotta do is get on the plane to come to Boston, and we got this woman's back, hands down. Let's transition once again, because we all had to deal with COVID, and this was a very trying time for a lot of people, and still is, unfortunately. You decided, I'm sure you spoke with Dee and the rest of TBS, you decided that we wanted to continue the outreach of what we were doing, but we had to do it in a way where we had to not be around each other, and thus became probably one of the biggest online communities that I've ever seen. You brought the If You Can Feel It, You Can Speak It open mic to Zoom.
Yeah.
And it just became, once again, people would set it on their calendars, and you know, however you did your reminders online, and the audience would just show up before you and Dee even got on screen. There was already 30 people waiting for you. Whose idea was it to transition from having no stages to having this online platform and still be able to do the routine that you guys done? And for such a long, because you did that for a long time. Explain the idea and the genesis of bringing the online mic online.
Yeah, so that wasn't even me, Daz. That was TBS. Like that was not me. So, you know, March of 2020, we're supposed to be hosting our open mic on the second Thursday of the month, like we always had been. And that Wednesday, like that Tuesday, there were rumors that not rumors, but like murmurs from the Milky Way that we might not be able to do the mic. You know, like we don't think this is actually going to happen. Things are closing very quickly. People are being told to stay home, yada, yada. And then Wednesday, we get the text from the Milky Way, the owners, and I love them still to this day, of course, like they're family to me. And they were like, you know, we can't host the mic. The restaurants are closed. The bars are closed, you know. And so I hit up the team and I'm like, y'all, for the first time at that point, we were in like our 11-year history-ish. I was like, for the first time in 11 years, we're not going to be able to have the mic, because that was another thing that we prided ourselves on. We had never missed a mic. Snowstorms, babies, personal family emergencies, grad school, traveling, yada, yada, yada. Well, you name it, we had not missed a mic because there were enough of us for coverage. And we pushed through. The Milky Way had parking. We're Bostonians. Weather don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like never had missed a mic. And so I was like, we're going to have to miss a mic, y'all. And like, I'm sorry. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know what to do with this, but like, this is just true. And in the thread, they were like, or we can just do it online. And I was like, what? I'm like, we can't do no goddamn open mic online. Like, what are y'all talking about? That's not possible. Because in my mind, online was so reserved for work. You know, like I was accustomed to Zoom and Skype and like all those other things for like work calls and for international calls with my international clients and colleagues and such. So it had never even dawned on me that like it could be a creative community platform. And so folks was like, yeah, no, like we could just do it on Zoom. Like, let's just do it on Zoom. And I'm like, y'all, that's not gonna work. Like, how are we gonna do, like, how do we do the sign up? How do we do the open mic? How do we do the values? How do we like control or maintain the space? Like, what do we do with this? And everybody was like, well, figure it out. We got this. Like, we're Phi-Sci, like we're TBS. Like, this is not going to be a problem. And so I said, okay, let's go. Like, let's do it. You know, so we made the announcement. We posted it on Instagram. We posted it on Facebook that we had a Zoom link. We invited people in. We made multiple hosts so that we could deal with the Zoom bombers, because that was a big thing at the beginning of COVID. Wherever you posted a Zoom link, some asshole would just jump in. And so we did it. And the response was outrageous. Because folks was like, yo, Phi-Sci is still standing. I still have somewhere to go. I still have somewhere to be. And so the response we got on that second Thursday immediately told us that we had to do it every Thursday. We couldn't just do it once a month virtually because people needed more community than that. There were a lot of folks who were home alone. There were a lot of folks who were isolated alone. And so we were like, okay, every Thursday, we will see y'all here on this Zoom and we're going to figure this out. And it was beautiful. We had so many newcomers to the mic virtually. It was insane. People coming from different countries. And then we had folks who moved away that remembered the mic, that were so excited to see us online because they hadn't been able to attend since they moved. And so they were super appreciative of that. Of course, we had folks who, you know, were immune compromised that wouldn't have been able to come out if we were able to gather in person, that were really appreciative of the access and the accessibility to the virtual mic. And so it just really turned into a beautiful, just kind of like multifaceted platform for us doing the mic online. And then, of course, we unfortunately got the word that the Milky Way was being sold. And so we knew even as other venues were opening, we couldn't go back home because we didn't have one. And so that's when we just continued online for a little while. And then we started looking for other venues to, you know, host like pop-up mics and one-off mics and things like that. But we haven't had a consistent home since 2020.
Wow. Until recently, but we're going to get into that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things I like about you is the level of professionalism within your career as an architect. This is a whole different type of curation. This is a whole different type of creative, and you seem to master it. But I want to talk about the Embrace real quick, because this design, I never got to see it in person yet, but I've seen so many pictures, and I'm looking at it like right now on a different screen because I just wanted to find it just to really, really just take in the ownership of power this presentation is presenting. You are a part of this creation, this lovely design that everyone can see now. Talk about the Embrace for those that don't know about it, because it honors one of the greatest heroes, two of the greatest heroes, that Martin and Coretta Scott King. For those that don't know about the Embrace, please share this and talk about your interaction and your involvement in this design.
Yeah, sure. So first thing is, unfortunately, I do have to clarify that I'm not technically allowed to be considered an architect, capital A, because of, I know, but you know, the legalities, the AIA, all the things, because I have not passed my exams yet. I work as an architect. I work at an architecture firm. I am a principal. I am the director of the Public Memory and Memorials Lab. I have all these titles and positions, but I am not legally allowed to be referred to as an architect, just as an FYI. But
hold up. One thing we will not do is apologize for being who you are. So let me do this again. Ladies and gentlemen, Ja D, my sister, is an architect.
I love it. I
want to hear that.
I want to hear that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, so the firm that I work at, Mass Design Group, we are a nonprofit design collective. And so we're a group of architects, landscape architects, engineers, filmmakers, storytellers, you name it. There's probably somebody in one of our 4 studios that has that skill set. And I've been part of the team for 6 years now, which is a beautiful feeling to have been somewhere for that long. And I am a principal there, as I mentioned, but I'm also the director of our Public Memory and Memorials Lab, which is this portfolio of work that is focused on spatializing memory and asking questions about how we can expand narratives in the public realm, tell a fuller story in the public realm about who has contributed to what aspects of our society, doing so through the lens of the built environment. And so as a result of that, I was part of the competition team for the Embrace. And so when it was first announced in 2018, our team collaborated with the artist Hank Willis Thomas on the competition entry. And the team together conceived of the Embrace, which is the winning design. There were over 126 entries. We were one of 5 finalists, ultimately chosen as the winning team. And took about 5 years to actually see the project come into fruition, but set out by what was then King Boston, now Embrace Boston. The intent behind the project was always to honor both Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr. Not enough people know that the 2 of them met here in Boston, that the 2 of them fell in love here in Boston, that the beginning of their lives was really rooted here in Boston. There's so many parts of this city that they have touched. And it was really important for that organization to be able to highlight that and celebrate that. And to do so on the Boston Common, to do so in a very centralized public part of Boston, where a lot of tourists come, where a lot of people see the identity of Boston kind of rooted, despite it being definitely Roxbury, but we'll talk about that another time.
Right.
But, so there were just a lot of important aspects to this project and to this opportunity. And so the purpose of the project, the competition, was to call for honoring the Kings and the fact that they met here. And our team was focused on love and focused on collective action. So the artist, Hank Willis Thomas, almost immediately was like, I want to create a sculpture that celebrates the love of these 2 folks that ultimately then fueled the civil rights movement. I want to be able to talk about the things that they embodied as civil rights leaders, as civil rights heroes, that really allowed them to be those kind of anchors in our communities. And that ultimately is love. And so he was inspired by a photograph of the Kings where it looked to him as if Coretta Scott King was holding up Martin Luther King Jr. in this beautiful photograph. And so his idea was an abstraction of that embrace, of that love, of that hold. And then our team, worked with him to think of how we should scale it and place materials and think about the plaza that it would sit on. And so the 1965 plaza that the sculpture is actually sitting on honors local civil rights activists and leaders in the greater Boston community, voted on by the greater Boston community. And that to me was a dope opportunity, because what it does is it talks about collective action and moves us away from the singular hero worship that we typically see in sculptures and in monuments and so forth. And so it was just really a beautiful opportunity to think about the work of many, the hands of many, the contributions of many, as we think about our collective history. And as a Boston resident, as a Boston native, to see, this beautiful sculpture that celebrates Black love be erected on the Boston Common took me out. Like, I wasn't ready. I was like, career done. Like, if I don't do anything else in my career, I mean, I'm going to do plenty more because I'm young and I'm still at it. Like, if I don't do anything else, I'll take this. Like, this is wonderful. This is important.
So this is the picture that she's talking about. This is the image right here. If you do get a chance to see it, please go see this in person. Stand next to it, embrace it, take a picture with it. This is power in visual form, and I can't wait. I have not yet seen it in person, but the next time I go back, I gotta make sure I'm grabbing you and we're taking a picture of this together.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
I want to transition now into the subject of love, because anyone that knows you knows that you are a very, very loving person that loves to give. But I want to bring up a time where love caught you off guard in the form of a proposal.
Ah, yes.
I loved this moment, and for someone that loves to create things and see things through and do things that are so surprising to their significant other, because I love doing things to my wife that she has no idea is going to happen. This particular moment when your significant other, Sister Kells, proposed to you in one of the most, I was so mad at her. I'm like, why not think of that shit? Why not? Please talk about this moment and what it meant to you to really know that the one that you met and grew in love with ultimately became the partner that you would spend the rest of your life with. And this proposal, share it with the masses who just speak on this real quick, because this was very ingenious. And Kells, come into the camera if you'd like to.
Do not invite her into the camera. We will be here all night, and we got to put this baby to bed.
Yeah, we're gonna hear. I'm gonna be with you for another 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna bounce.
Yeah.
Explain. So Kells, this moment where you proposed to your wife, first of all, I'm mad at you because I didn't think of it first. So, and I'm gonna make sure I let you know that in person. But describe that moment where you knew that this was the one you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, and how did you come up with this genius idea to do the way to present it in the way that you did?
That's a loaded question, but let me see if I can answer it as quickly and efficiently as I can.
Give you some space. Watch my baby.
So, what's up, everybody? So I knew from day one that she was my wife. I told her, and she didn't believe me. She was just like, "Okay, crazy, whatever, we'll see." But I think I had around that time enough of the wrong people,
right,
and the wrong things to come across my way for me to understand what was right about her and right about us. So I wanted to make it something very special. And my initial plan was to have a group of us, meaning our friends, her mom, because that's literally her best friend, to fly out to Napa Valley and surprise her there. When I quickly realized how pricey that was going to be for everybody involved, I was like, okay, we should likely shift these things. And so I think that it was actually a good shift that happened because everybody who knows Ja knows that Transformers is her favorite thing. It is like the Arcanerd,
absolute favorite,
the Arcanerd thing, right? And Bumblebee is her favorite Autobot.
Wow.
And so it just so happened that they were making a movie that was coming out in December called Bumblebee. So I was like, that's it. And I was talking with my best friend from home. I was like, how can I do this? Like, I know Ja well enough to know that she would want something both intimate and kind of public at the same time, but without drawing a whole lot of attention. So I was like, what's the best way to do that? And my initial thought, I was like, well, I'll just do it on the screen when the previews are going. And I was like, nah, that's not thoughtful enough. Like
that's been done before. Yeah.
Right. So my friend was like, well, what about you just doing a movie poster? I was like, yes.
So to shorten this very long, beautiful story that my wife is going to continue to tell.
I was getting there. I was getting there.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I remember her best friend from college. I put out a whole request for proposal for different graphic designers, mostly Black queer graphic designers, to be able to design this poster for me. And when I got no responses, I remembered that her best friend does graphics. They went to grad school together. And so I reached out to him, albeit all kinds of ways, through Google, through everything. I was literally stalking her phone so that I could wait to the perfect time to actually be able to get his number. And then I told him my idea and I asked him, and he was like, absolutely. So fast forward, I got him the specs, the pictures, everything that I wanted him to do. And I let him do his whole creation. And when it came time to the day, I literally was acting all sorts of weird that entire weekend. I'm not a person who can lie. And I remember we were running errands and we had just gotten home and she was like, let's do this. And I was like, I can't. Because I had not taken the poster over to the movie theater for them to have it for us to come the next day. And so she was like, why? I was like, I have to get gas. I need air in the tire. I need to get gas. And she was like, well, I'll just come with you. I was like, no, no, no. I can do this by myself. I got it. And so she was like, oh, whatever. And she knew the whole time that I was going to propose. She just didn't know how. And I knew that she knew. And I also knew that she didn't know how it was going to happen. So that's the part that really made it the most beautiful. And that was my process up to it. So
really dope, really dope. Really, really dope. Just wanted to just get you to share that. I love that story. I wanted to hear the origin behind it. I did. Thank you so much, Kels. That was wonderful, wonderful. And there's the poster. Yep. I don't know if the video is still on your Facebook page, but if it is, people can go see it and just relive that wonderful moment. So we've got about 7 more minutes to go. So I just want to wrap it up with this wonderful platform that you've created has now returned back to live action. Amen and amen.
Praise them. Praise them.
The process to get it back, you told me right before we started, but please share with the masses how this wonderful open mic is now back in the public eye once again for everyone to come and enjoy. Speak on it.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I love my city. I love the city of Boston, born and raised, and I genuinely appreciate the amount of effort that is being put into funding and supporting arts, art communities, small businesses, or what have you. And so the mayor's office of arts and culture had launched this grant opportunity to be able to host events on City Hall Plaza, specifically at the new Civic Pavilion, which is this new smaller space, smaller venue down on the Congress Street side of City Hall Plaza. And I'm gonna keep it real with you, Daz. I had no idea. I had no idea that the grant was even out. I knew that we needed to find another home. I knew that we needed to find another space. I was actually thinking like, yo, where are we gonna celebrate our anniversary? What do we wanna do leading up to our anniversary? But I had no idea that the grant was out because being a mom is real. Being a full-time working person is real. Being both of those things combined is even more real. So it just wasn't on my radar. So I have to give big love and respect to Billy Dean Thomas, who put me on. Like Billy Dean reached out and was like, yo, artist to artist, did you know this grant existed? Did you know this was out here? Have you seen this call? Have you been paying attention? And lo and behold, like it was on my social media. It was in my email. I just was not paying attention. And so I'm so grateful that Billy brought it to my attention for me to even put in the grant application. And so I did what we do. I put all of our love on paper. Like I put all of this energy and this intentionality and this abundance and this space making quality that we have on paper. And I applied for a grant to be able to host the mic in the Civic Pavilion for a year. And I was like, they gonna look at me like I'm crazy. They're gonna be like, ma'am, you get like 2. That's all we don't know you. This don't make no sense. Like, what are you talking about? An open mic? How are you gonna draw a crowd? Like all these things. I was like, but I gotta shoot my shot, right? Like I gotta aim high. And so yeah, we applied to be able to do a year's worth of open mics at Civic Pavilion, and we received the grant. We were told yes. And we had our very first mic on June 9th. So we launched with a Pride mic, which was really special to us. And we're going to continue to see how it goes. We have our next one on July 14th. And we're super excited because the last mic was just dope. It was a great vibe. We had a great turnout. And I think what's really special is that the public facing aspect of the Civic Pavilion allows folks that otherwise probably would not find us, like that wouldn't be able to find us, to just like roll up on us. So we just have people rolling in off the street like, yo, what is this? This looks fun. This looks like a vibe. And they had a great time. They're like, I'm coming back next time. I'm coming back next time. So yeah, it was because the city has this grant out. It was because Billy Dean Thomas was looking out for folks that we now have an opportunity to have a home for at least a year.
My last question to you, well, second to last, is you knew you had the date, you had the venue, you began to tell people you do your networking thing, which you do very, very well. But the moment that you and D stood up in front of an audience again for the first time in such a long time had to be overwhelming for you. And I know you probably teared up multiple times that night, but that initial response before you introduced yourselves and did your ideals and everything, what was that moment like before you all spoke? Like, we're here in front of people once again. My husband is here, the architect is here, everything is in place. That moment, what was that moment like for you as a creative of this wonderful movement that was back again and back to regularly scheduled programming, if you will?
Yeah, it was affirming. Mm-hmm. It was affirming. And I say that because, you know, the time that we started the mic, the environment in which we started the mic, the city in which we started the mic almost 15 years ago is not the same as it is now.
Right.
We started our mic at a very different time. We grew our mic at a very different time. And there was a moment where our space was critical. Our space was needed. There were very few spaces like ours, meaning where people of color, queer people, folks otherwise marginalized knew that they could go, where they could be heard, where they could be seen, where they could be respected consistently. There were one-off mics, there were events, there were headlining events, but there was not like a monthly thing where you knew, okay, this is going to be somewhere where I can go to. This is going to be somewhere I can call home.
Right.
And since then, since we first started, since 5 years in, since 10 years in, there's been an abundance of events that have popped up across the city and beyond. There's so many new poets, so many new venues, so many new vibes, to where we are not as, like, I would say, as critical as we once were. So to be standing there on that stage that day with that room full of folks, with Free, with D, knowing that like we had done it again, that we had gotten our feature, that we had gotten like the funding, that we were able to pay people what they are worth. That is something that has been a challenge for years, right? Like having all of this reassurance, having these resources, having this knowledge that we've learned and picked up on over the past 15 years, and knowing that we have the ability to continue to cultivate community in the way that we've learned best how to do. Fam, it was affirming. It was like, nah, sis, like you still belong. Like you still belong in your home city, in this art community, on this scene, in these streets. You still belong, and you still got it. Like that part, I was like, oh, let me know. So it was beautiful. It was affirming.
So my last question is, I just interviewed my friend Crosby Tatum, who's an independent film director in Boston. He has his own studio and everything. This Saturday, he is unveiling his latest piece called The People United, which was a 1 hour and 10-minute documentary about the George Floyd situation. And if you're not doing anything this Saturday, it's at the Roxbury Film Festival. If you're free, please go check it out. Introduce yourself to Crosby. He's a great guy. I'll make sure I'll link you two up. But anyway, his medium is film to voice the frustrations that his people, our people, we're going through what George Floyd affected everyone and still is, especially with the police and all this. My question to you is, 15 years later, where does poetry align itself with the everyday situations that Black people, regardless of your income, denomination, your orientation, whatever it is, your age group, because I'm 50 and I still feel affected by things that just happened last week. How do you now infuse poetry in this event setting with everything that is going around? Because again, I come to the open mic to forget about everything that happened outside of the Milky Way's doors. I need a escape. You all were my escape. the time we went to Janet Jackson together, that was our escape from whatever was going on outside the TD Garden. For those 2 hours, we just were in the moment, singing these songs that we loved. And then whatever happened the next day, we were ready to take it on because we were just empowered by what she's done. How do you empower our people now through what happened with Tyre Nichols, George Floyd, and every other injustice that you could possibly imagine? How do you take that energy and turn it into something creative that people can walk out and feeling empowered after leaving your event?
I mean, I don't do anything. We make space to talk about it. So like you say, like the mic is an escape from it. And I would actually argue that the mic is a deep dive into it. The mic is the space where we take the trauma, we take the pain, we take the anger, we take the frustration, you know, we take the challenges and we grapple with them. We talk about them, we navigate them, we negotiate with them, and we turn them into tools of healing, tools of triumph by way of art and expression. And we take some control back from these situations that otherwise make us or could make us feel powerless or helpless. And I think also there's this opportunity to be in common space with each other. So like when somebody is sharing a poem about how they're responding to this, that, or the third current event, or this, that, or the third personal event, and you're sitting in the audience, fully able to relate to that, fully able to empathize with that, there's this understanding that you are not alone. There's this understanding of mutuality. There's this understanding of family, right? That you now have that you did not perhaps have when you came into the room. And so I don't think that we escape anything so much as we armor up at the mic to then go deal with the world and the realities that we're constantly being confronted with. And so that's why when we go through our values at the start of the mic, the thing we end with is that we want you to be inspired, which is to say that like you might not know why you came out that particular night, or you might know, but we guarantee that either way, if you sit there with an open heart and an open mind, you're going to leave us better than which you came, for sure. So yeah, it's not about what I do. It's about what we collectively do as the community that has stepped foot in that room.
Exactly. And that's the best narrative dope expression. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the last hour and some change, you have been empowered by this wonderful, wonderful, creative person right here. And on a personal note, I just want to say thank you. For many, many moments, I have lost count of how many times I've been inspired, how many times I've been influenced by someone who said something, whether I related to it or not. The fact that they have the courage and the freedom and the strength just to do it in a room full of people you may not have heard of or may never see again, and just walk away feeling good about yourself, knowing that you did it, is one of the reasons why I kept coming out. But on a personal level, to know that I know every single member of TBS. Ron Steele has been a mentor to me. I talk to him to this very day as much as I can, because if it wasn't for me meeting you all and meeting him, I wouldn't be in this space and then have the chance to better myself, because it's not easy playing for, you know, the lesbian culture. It's hard. There are certain songs you cannot, and I had to learn that. I got checked hard by multiple times, and then I would have to tell other DJs, look, if you're going to this event, they'd love to have you. Here's a song, and don't play this, don't play this, don't play this. If you get to the Benjamin song, there's one part you need to cut out. Don't play Chichiman. There's certain records you just cannot play.
Don't do it.
The fact that you gave me the creative space to be me, and it worked time and time again, is why I love coming back, because I've told y'all this many times, like, you ain't got to pay me a damn thing. I'll do this for free, simply because I mean, I love money. I need it, especially now that I'm married, but it wasn't about that. And so I want to thank you for opening up this platform, not only to me, but to so many creatives looking for freedom. And so with all that being said, please plug this next event. Let them know how they can find you on open mic. If poets want to get down with you and be on the sign up list, this is your moment. Plug your event. Go, sis.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for that love. It's definitely reciprocated. We have had so many moments together, and I'm so grateful for them. And I'm so grateful for your patience. I know you said you've been trying to get me on here for a minute, and I'm glad that my schedule finally allowed for it. So I appreciate your determination and your patience. As far as the next mic, so we are every second Sunday at the Civic Pavilion. So the next Sunday is going to be Sunday, July 14th. Open mic starts, doors open at 6:30. Open mic starts like around 6:45. We'll see. Depends on the crowd, how early folks are rolling in. Our mic goes such that the list is first come, first serve. So you just got to get there, sign up, get yourself on the list. As long as your name is on the list, we'll be able to get to you at some point throughout the night. You'll have to follow us on Instagram at feelit_speakit. So that's feelit_speakit. Or you can follow us on Facebook. And if you just type out "if you can feel it," the rest of it will come up. But it's "if you can feel it, you can speak it." Open mic movement on Facebook. But you have to follow us on one of those two platforms to see who our July feature is. I'm not going to give that to y'all here. You got to follow us, get with us to know. But the open mic is free to the public. So, please come as you are. First come, first serve. Once we hit capacity, we hit capacity. If you've ever been to any of our open mics, you already know free food is a staple. We believe in feeding people because folks need food in order to be present. There are beverages available for purchase, and there's always a dance party that follows the mic. So even if you're not coming for the poetry, come for the vibe and the two-step. Like I said before, I can guarantee you're going to leave us better than you came. So hope to see y'all on July 14th.
Absolutely. And I just want to end this open mic by playing a song that is one of John's personal favorites. And she already knows what song it is. But before I do that, salute to Free, who's in the comments right now, chatting away. Shout out to my sister Free. Free, you need to bring back Free After Dark. I'm just saying, you need to bring that back.
That's real.
I missed that platform. You need to bring Free After Dark back. If you don't, I'm gonna keep hounding you until you do, because I got her here. I'm gonna keep hounding you. Bring that sucker back immediately. But ladies and gentlemen, Josh said at the end of this poetry event, there's always a party. And when I play this song right here,
I knew it.
This song right here, oh boy, come on.
We're ready. Yeah, we're ready.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, July 14th. It is all going down. This woman, D-Ruff, the whole TBS. Get ready. Jah D, I want to thank you for being here this evening with me. Salute to Kells. Salute to your amazing son. We're going to end on this note right here. Let's just do this one time. Hey. Woo. Watch out now. Watch out. John's going to get ready. We're going to let this chorus go, and then we're going to fade out. Let this chorus go. Let me turn this up a little. Hey. Come on. Be ready for them. Oh man, I love it. We're ready. July 14th. They ready. DJ Ron Steele, he ready. Kells,
thank you so much.
Yes.
So good to see you, love.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jah D. My name's DJ Daz1. This has been the Rap Sheet Podcast. Follow this lady. If you are a poet, an MC, an R&B singer, whatever your creative niche is, link up with this person. They have the platform for you. I don't know what you're doing. Get on this platform right now. And Jah D, thank you so much, my love. I appreciate you. This has been a wonderful, wonderful time. Stay with me just for a moment. And everyone on YouTube, we're out of here. I'll see you on next Thursday. Peace and blessings. Hold tight. All right, let me end that, and bam.